The West Tigers podcast is brought to you by the West Tigers Podcast Forum. Have your say on anything to do with the West Tigers, westtigerspodcast.com.au.
Luai goes to Galvin, out the back, Buller straightens things up nicely, and Taruva off the right scores the first points for the Tigers. Galvin cuts one out, Toa again. Oh, what a run! Stop it, Toa! And the referee says it's all good. Momentum gets him there for the second try in that corner. Gets around Kaltonga comfortably. What a return this is. Jareen Buller has support now. Dewey on the outside. They want to kick back inboard, and Dewey provides it. For Galvin, they're queuing up here. How's the bounce? Sits up beautifully. Oh, the Tigers! They are on! One of the tries of the year. It starts with Buller and finishes with Galvin. Safe half has to help out at dummy half. Luai steps around the advancing Hopgood. It is the last. Tries to invent something, and it might just work out here. Bird. Oh, a diving Iyongi. And a second kick from Galvin to space. How's the bounce? Skelton goes under his man and scores! What an extraordinary try! The Tigers are on fire at Coffee. Galvin now. Buller already creative out here. Fainu through. Taruva hunting a hat-trick, and he'll score it. Execution down the right-hand side has been elite. The claw has come out again.
West Tigers podcast, episode number 384 on a Sunday night after the West Tigers spanked Parramatta. 32 points to 6. I got Gary, Nick, and of course I've got Declan, because Declan, he only comes on after wins. Boys, very, very relieved I am. But I'll go through, before I get you on one word, some of the early submissions on the forum, since it's only been probably 90 minutes since the game finished out there at CommBank. Tiger Town SFS said better. Tiger Town grind. Mike said needed. Agree with that, Mike. Plunder Monkey went with improving. LFC Tiger solid. Enumerator is relieved. Jedi Tiger relief. Lorenzo confidence. Cage 79 is thankful. Canberra Tiger building. Rachel 09 composed. And Daniel 67 is proud. Start with you, Declan. What do you got?
Well, I think one of the people took my word. My word was confidence, because the first 30 minutes, it kind of looked like both teams were kind of scared to lose it. And it was just an absolute, sludge fest of poor footy. But then, we managed to score, and then we get that kind of surge of confidence that allows us to kind of go on and win it. But then the Eels, as soon as we go ahead, it kind of reverts back to the game against the Storm. And without Moses, they just didn't look like they had any sort of confidence that they'd be able to claw back the lead. So I think as soon as we scored that first try, I think our confidence went up and theirs went down, which is a big reason why we were able to put a score on them.
Your word, Nick?
Well, I like the relieved one, and I do feel very relieved after that win. It's funny, it's only round 2, but I feel like the pressure valve's been released just a little bit. I would have hated to have been 0-2 going into next week, but that was a very important win for us. But my word's probably spine, because I know I mentioned a few weeks ago I was looking forward to this round more than round 1, because we got to see what our spine actually looks like when we're pretty much fully fit. So I thought Buller was amazing for his first game back. Appy was good for the minutes that he played. Like Benji said, probably a little bit underdone, but it was clunky. We all saw that at the beginning, but when it clicked, geez, it was pretty, wasn't it? Hope we see more of that soon.
Gary?
Yeah, mine got stolen as well, and it was building. For me, the difference between this week and last week, our attacking structures, the shape and the depth and the speed of our attack was much better than what we saw against the Newcastle Knights. But the most pleasing thing for me to come out of today is there's still lots of areas that we can improve on. There's still lots of areas, not just that we can improve on, that we need to improve on. And for me, it's really nice to get a really good win like we got today, like scoring 30 points against Parramatta is fantastic. But we can play so much better than that, and hopefully over the next month of football, we see that progress to a spot where we are playing much better football than what we showed today, despite what was a really good win.
My word, boys, is May. And you might think, well, that's about Terrell May because he played for 100 minutes or 80,000 minutes in the heat today. Or it might be about his brother, whatever his name is. But it's not, Gary. It's about May. Our season's not going to be over in May for once.
Well,
Do you agree?
you could be going off a little bit early on that one, Eddie. It's
Only
one win,
4 or 5
and
weeks till May.
usually by
We
May
win two more games.
usually we get a win in May. Yeah. So when we get two more games, I'm willing to say that our season's not over in May. But I think it's a much better spot to be in than where we've been the last 2 years with 6 to 7 losses to start the season. We're now at 50% for the season, and it's been a long time since we've been
All you
at
got to do to
50%
make
of
the eight,
games.
Gary.
And it's been a long time since we've been at that at any point in a season.
Wow, it's interesting to see positive Eddie. I wonder how long that will last for going into the season. But
Yeah,
kick off next week.
The podcast didn't start after 25 minutes of the game because it wasn't positive, Eddie. We will break it down, boys, into a bit of a look at the attack, defense, some of the positives and negatives. But Declan, overall, was it, the word relieved was used a few times. Is it just that? Because, whether you win by 40 or win by 2, every win's worth 2 points. But was it an impressive win or just good to get on the board?
I think it was more good to get on the board in the sense that the Parramatta, they were just awful. There's probably no getting around it. They didn't throw anything out as an attack. Their defense on the edges was terrible. And I think if we played a lot of other teams this game, we probably would have been down by a few tries. But in saying that, I think defensively, the fact that we only conceded that last try at the very end and that our combinations look like they've improved since last week, I think that's a good thing to take away from the game. But I think it's just a relief just to get the win and then move on to next week and build when we're probably going to have to face tougher opposition.
Gary, I was going to say one of the impressive things for me was it's the first time we've been a favourite for probably over 2 years. I know you guys aren't punters, so $1.60 doesn't mean anything to you guys, but it means we're a fairly firm favourite. And usually those games we either go down or at 16-0 up at half time, we end up turning it into a game that decided in the last 5 minutes. Whereas actually, I didn't think the referee gave us a lot throughout that 80 minutes. And to win 32 points to 6 with no heart attacks in that last 20 minutes, that at least was impressive.
Yeah, anytime you can score over 30 points, you pretty much should put yourself in a position that you win that game. 30 points should always be enough to win a game of football. If you're losing a game and scoring that many, there's something wrong. So, pleasing for me to see us score so many points and some really nice tries as well, some long-range tries, some exciting tries. But I think Declan's right. Parramatta were really poor, especially defensively. There were some simple bad reads from them, and I hate to say it, but at times some lack of effort in some of the tries we scored coming from Parramatta. But I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. This is progress. We played much better football this week, much quicker play the balls, all the things we spoke about through the week that we needed to improve to do well this week. The side went out and did that, and I don't think you can really ask for more than that.
I think the really pleasing thing as well for me is that we didn't get Parramatta any easy outs in terms of tries. Like so many times last year or the year before, we would go to a lead, 2 tries, 3 tries, but then, it'd just be like a simple crash ball and then the other team would score or just, strip them for numbers really easily. But we never gave Parramatta that easy try to let them back into the game, which I thought was really pleasing, that we kept that consistent pressure. And at no point did I look like I thought that they were going to score when they were on our line when they had possession in the second half. But yeah, just good to see.
So that's what was really impressive for me defensively, Declan, as well, is that period where we defended 5 sets in a row, stuck on our own line. Historically, it's very rarely we come out the other side of that without conceding points. And I thought the guys did a really good job. They slid really well during that time. And that goal line defence, which I think everyone will agree has been a weakness of us for a number of years, stood up in that period today. So hopefully that continues throughout the season.
Yeah, resilience isn't really a word that we've been known for, is it? I know it's only round 2, but we saw it last week and we saw it tonight. There's a lot of resilience in the way that we defend the line. It was really good to watch.
And they had all the excuses in the world to let in a try during that period. 37 degrees out there, Parramatta having that running. It's real, it's very easy to turn around and say, yeah, we're worn out. It's really hot. But they didn't do that today. And even Luai's comments at the end, when asked about the heat, is that's Western Sydney. We grew up playing in that. That's the weather doesn't matter. And for me, the commitment and the resilience during that period was probably the highlight of the game, despite some of the wonderful tries that we scored.
Is it too early, Declan, to say there's a defensive mentality established around the club? I was banging on about it, through preseason, saying that's how we'll find out. That's how we'll climb the ladder. You would have been screaming for joy if you found out the Tigers had conceded 16 points in their opening two games at 8 points per game. But the quality of the opposition, the completion rate of both those oppositions, the goal line defense was outstanding, but are you going to sort of hold on that until we play a few more sides with a bit more quality or a bit more ball possession?
Yeah, I'm going to hold on that. I think last season as well, we actually started off all right defensively, but then it kind of tipped away towards the end of the year. So I think it's just to see if we can maintain it. And then as well, I think is what you said, the quality of the opposition, because I think if Mitchell Moses was playing seven for the Eels this game, he would have probably organised a little bit more fluent attack, which might have cracked us, because at the moment I would say our defence is good, but it's a little bit shaky from time to time where we look a little bit like undecided and a little bit vulnerable. But as you said, only not that many tries scored, and I thought we did we showed some really good defensive decisions, especially on the edge. I thought Luai, I know he didn't have the best game, especially in that first half, but I thought defensively he was really strong and jolting the ball free a few times and reading that back row really, really well. So I think it's progress, but I'd like to probably hold on it until we've played a few more stronger teams.
Luai definitely is really committed in defence. I thought he was quite good and quite busy last week in defence as well. For me, I am still concerned defensively because I think it was 50 missed tackles last week, and I've seen written that it was around 30.
34, but I'm pretty sure, Gary, we've obviously probably only seen the game once, but I'm pretty sure it was only 8 or 9 till about 20 minutes to go. Yeah. So I thought at least around the goal line, they were getting good numbers around the ball. There were a few times where Parramatta went really close.
For me, the key point is I watched the coverage on Channel 9 today, and Luai was interviewed after the game. And the question he was asked was, is there any difference between 0 and 6? And his answer to that was one I don't think we probably would have heard from West Tigers before. It was that there's a massive difference between 0 and 6. We're aiming for 0 every week. We're disappointed we didn't get 0. So that attention to detail that we've spoken about, and that fight, and I think that fight was shown by the break that led to that try down the right-hand side. The reason they didn't score off that first break was Royce Hunt ran 50 metres to chase down and cover the inside man. That's the biggest guy in our team, probably arguably the unfittest guy in our team, and he's made that effort to get down there and prevent the try in the 79th minute of a game that we had already won in 37 degrees. I think hopefully those two things are the signs that mentality around defence has changed at the club.
How good was it watching Royce in full flight, though? That was when he was trying to make a cover tackle. We've seen him come off the back fence a couple of times. He did it today, taking the first hit up, from a set. He looks incredible. I'd hate to be in front of him with him running at me. He's just a bulldozer.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to be Zach Lomax looking at that replay. It looked like Royce was going stride for stride for him for about 50 metres there. Even your man, Gary, AD, I'm sure you'll get me back when you talk about Buller later, but just that last 2 minutes, we're probably down to 12. Apparently Buller limped off, and just when Parramatta made that break, I know they scored, but AD and Galvin, it was desperation there to try and keep that 0 intact.
Yeah, and he was actually trying to get Galvin to stay out and cover the winger, but he didn't stay out. And it would have been a tough tackle for Dewey to actually make if the centre hadn't passed the ball. So I thought he was really strong today for the most part. Nice kick inside for the try just before half time. His goal kicking, I thought, was really good, with the majority of kicks coming on the tougher side. And so I thought he had a really good game. I still do worry about him defensively at times, and I thought there was still a couple of poor reads in defence. but the signs were good today. I thought. I thought he played a really good centres game today. I don't think he overplayed his hand, which he is prone to do at times. So I was quite happy with his performance today.
Declan, I listened to Benji's press conference. He never gives the journos much, which I don't mind at all. But yeah, you're not going to learn a whole heap listening to Benji throughout the season, his press conference. But he did one thing he said that I liked is our mentality going into the game was win the battle early and score the points late.
Yeah.
And even though that first 27 minutes was pretty brutal for both sets of supporters, and I'm sure every neutral watching might have turned it off. Once we didn't concede any soft tries, even though we were dropping the ball and giving away penalties, and we're still 0-0. And then when we got the first six, Parramatta were never really in it after that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so interesting because I look at the Tigers and I'm just not sure exactly like what their style of play is. I feel like that the problem in the first 30 minutes was that we tried to play through the middle a bit and then finesse it to the edges, but we didn't quite get the balance. But then I felt that when Royce Hunt came on and when Talon Silva came on, it became a lot more direct and we played through the middle and then it opened up on the edges for us. So yeah, that's the thing about Benji's comments. I'm just not 100% sure of like the way the team wants to play at the moment in terms of, like as he said, like winning it, like winning it early. Oh, sorry, not winning it early, but what he said in the press conference. So yeah, I think, but obviously the more they play, that'll become clearer. But I think they're kind of stuck, particularly Luai. I feel like he kind of tried to run the ball a little bit in the first half. It wasn't really working, or he tried to put on a play. But then towards the second half, I think he was just kind of playing more the general, just kind of kicking it in the corners, getting it to Galvin. So I think there's a lot of room to improve, especially in the halves, which is a good sign because they did look pretty good today.
I actually think that first 20 minutes of games this season, it's probably going to be a period where we need to stick in games. So that win the game early, score the points late, I think's going to be something that we're going to have to look at. For me, there's a little bit of a lack of punch in our forward pack in that first 20 minutes. If you have a look today, most of our attacking sets in that first 40 were finishing around that 40-metre mark, and Parramatta was finishing our side of halfway. And that's going to be a little bit of an issue in that time. And it's really not until Royce Hunt comes on, Jack Bird comes on, and today Talon Silva came on, that we get that little bit more punch through the middle. So I think that first 20 minutes is going to be a little bit of a struggle for us points-wise in games. But there's a lot of impact that comes on around that 20-minute mark. And I think we've seen in both games the difference that impact coming on has made.
I think that on that, Fanua was a little bit disappointed in his first stint. I wonder if we would consider starting Royce Hunt, who's that bigger body, who can kind of, take the sting out of the game. And then Fanua comes on with his footwork, because I think this game, he kind of relied a little bit too much on his footwork when the Parramatta line speed was pretty good. And then he'd step one player, but then there'd be another one right there, kind of tackle him pretty easily. But then with Royce Hunt, he just came on, he just ran it straight, like got us at our own end. And it's interesting because I wouldn't want to remove Royce Hunt because I think he's like coming off the bench is such a key role for us. But just to make sure like we kind of stick with like the bigger teams, because we do have kind of not undersized props, but not massive props at the same time. So it's an interesting balance that we kind of need to get right going forward.
For me, we're probably that one impactful prop short. Terrell May, fantastic. Like my player of the match today. I thought he was outstanding. But he doesn't early on in the games really have that hard-hitting contact at the line. He gets into tackles and he keeps moving forward and he stands in tackles and the opposition has trouble getting him down, but he's not really busting the line and hurting defenders. That's not until Hunt comes on. And I'd hate to move Hunt to that starting role because I think it's his role coming on after 20 minutes, after 25 minutes, and providing that impact changes the game for us. And I don't think you get that if you start with him. So I think we're just lacking that other big bopper prop who can cause a little bit of damage to start with. And it'll be interesting to see how that develops. I would possibly look at starting Hunt if you're looking at putting Kit Lalui onto that bench and him providing a little bit of impact later in the game, I think that could work. But I think that's still it's still a jigsaw puzzle that's yet to be solved. How best to use those props to kind of have that impact throughout the game.
The attack, Nick, it's the big positive for me, at least on the scoreboard. 6 tries. We made 8 line breaks. I think we only made 1 last week. 12 offloads despite having 13 errors. First look at the new spine. What did you make of Appy and Buller in their first games back?
Buller, I thought, was brilliant for his first game back. He was very involved, and the first thing I noticed, and I know Gary agrees, is how much deeper our attack looks. Like last week we were so flat as we were in the trial at Leichhardt as well, but we just played with a lot more depth today. Buller was out the back as he does, sweeping around left and right, and as Gary pointed out, played a lot more through the middle too. So, and as Gary also pointed out, he's been working very closely with Brett Hodgson, who is a bit of both sweeper and
Has Gary got the lotto numbers for this week as well, Nick?
What's the supplementary, Gary?
47.
Well, I have to give Gary credit, because if I don't, he's just going to jump in and tell me how good he is and how I stole all the words out of his mouth.
I can see him there smiling like the cat that found the cream at the moment, but I'm not going to go to him yet. I'm going to go to Declan. Jareem Buller, was that his best game in over a year for us? I mean, his stats don't jump off the page, only 107 running meters, but I just thought he oozed class out there today. For all the people that think I hate him, I thought he was fantastic.
But you don't hate him. I didn't know that was okay. But yeah, I don't know. This is the kind of thing I go back and forth with. Like, were we amazing, or Parramatta just rubbish? Because like that try that he set up, like it was just a terrible kick chase. And then the kind of when he managed to get on the outside of Penasini a few times, like it was just terrible defense. But like credit to him, he has to have the class to actually execute as well. And like in terms of, I'm not sure if it was his best game in first grade, but in terms of ball in hand, I think that from like polishing off the set play, I think it probably was. I think he looked the most comfortable I've seen him in the back line. So yeah, hopefully his injury isn't too bad, because I think for me, he put to bed the Heath Mason debate as well, because I know that, Heath Mason's got some things that I like, but I think Buller probably just, confirmed that he's the best fullback, and it's probably not even close at the moment, unfortunately, for Mason, because there was especially this one high ball in the first half where he did such a good job just to take it, and I just thought that
in contact as well.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I just don't think that I think a lot of other fullbacks probably would have dropped that, and he's just so safe and reliable. And if he manages to add that attacking prowess to his game, then he can be like a really good fullback.
I do like Heath Mason, but I think Buller, like you said, really stood up today, and to me, he stood out. He's definitely a number one fullback. The way he leapt for that high ball that you were just talking about, Declan, like he was safe as houses. Like I can't see him getting out jumped by many people at all. And even when he made that break that led to the try from the kick return, we know that Heath Mason's got explosive speed off the mark, but Jareem, it doesn't look like it, I think, because he's so tall and lanky, but he was pretty quick out of the blocks. Like he made that break really quick and showed a lot of speed to sort of jink a bit left and make that break before he threw the pass. So, yeah, I'm really happy he's back. I'm just happy he hasn't done too much damage to that. Was it his ankle, Eddie? Did you hear?
Yeah, apparently ankle. He was definitely hobbling, and I did hear an interview after the game, and apparently he was in a moon boot, but hopefully that can be a precaution, or it could be a problem, but we won't know tonight, obviously.
I think he had a few advantages this week that Heath Mason didn't have last week. Our play the ball was much quicker, so a lot more playing against the more unsettled defensive line. Parramatta's line speed was really poor, so it was much easier for us to straighten the attack today, which he did really well. Because one of the things he was guilty of last year was heading to the corner and running his outside backs out of space. I thought when he chimed in today, he straightened really well, which we saw when he put Fainu through the gap for, was it the last try? Yeah, I think it was the last
I think,
try.
Gary, that was crucial in at least 2 of our tries. It was only subtle, but like you said, that used to drive you crazy last year, where he straightened just that last couple of meters to draw that third defender in further infield, which created the 3-on-2 comfortably.
Yeah, and it's really hard when you have that link player coming around the back, that sweeping player, and they keep heading towards the sideline and they can't straighten. Now, what we need to see over the next couple of weeks is him doing that consistently, and 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 not just because it's a slow line speed team we're playing against. So we need to see us doing that consistently. And it wasn't just Dream straightening today. I thought Luai straightened really well. I thought Galvin straightened better than he has so far through the trials and round one. So that straightening aspect really, especially on that first try, I think is a really good example of it. That first try was a beautiful piece of play where we had multiple runners. Safe half ran a beautiful lead line that we then hit Buller behind, who then put Toa away, who put Taruva into the corner. They're the sort of plays that we've really struggled to execute really well. And that one was done with precision today. I was really, really happy with that. But I think Buller was outstanding. Like, he's in my top two players today. I really like the ball he threw with the flick pass behind the back. I think he was really strong, and he had key roles in at least three of those tries today, and probably threw the most important pass in three of those tries. So for me, he was probably our best playmaker today, and hopefully he's a bit of a confidence player. That really good start to the season. Hopefully it's just onwards and upwards from here, because I think he has a lot of potential, and we're starting to see that come back after what was probably a bit of a down season for him last year.
Yeah, and just with Dream and his ankle and him hobbling around in a moon boot, I saw Gary in a moon boot not too long ago, and he's still as quick and evasive as he was before the moon boot. So I'm sure Dream will be fine.
I'm really good in a straight line.
In praise, I would say.
Richo doesn't use spots 29 and 30 for Gary in the next couple of weeks, Nick. But I thought that the right side, Declan, was, I think 4 tries come down the right. Taruva obviously got a hat-trick and Toa got a try. He was strong. Is there any reason why that right side seemed to be functioning a little bit better than the left? Gary mentioned runners in motion and a couple of good decoy runs, and there was some good tip-on passes. I found that a little bit more encouraging today. Galvin's a bit more predominantly down the right.
Yeah, I think that was Starfato's, his famous one good game in 2 seasons.
He is an enigma, that bloke. I cannot work him out.
Yeah, so I'm a bit worried now that he's used up that game. If we won't see him for another month or two, but hopefully not. Hopefully he's turned the corner. But I think the reason why the right side for us was just so good was because Penasini just had an absolute nightmare. I think every time Toa got one-on-one with him, he managed to either fend him or create enough separation to kind of get past them or get a quick play of the ball. So yeah, I think it was just a really good matchup for us. And credit to Toa, because I think that try he scored, there wasn't really much on in terms of what was set up for him. It was just really good center play to put down the ball as well. Maybe a little bit lucky with that he didn't go into touch, but you got to give him credit, because that was probably the best game he's played for us since the Cowboys game where he fed Valentine Holmes.
Yeah, for me, if Parramatta watched our game last week and game plan, they would have been expecting the majority of our play to come through the left, because that's where we went last week. I think I said on the pod through the week that there were times where we had both halves on a short side on the left last week. And I thought that balance of the positioning of our halves was much better this week. And I think that just gave that right-hand side a little bit more of a chance. And Buller coming back helps a lot with that as well. So for me, I just think we're more balanced in the halves this week, which allowed us to shift the ball in a much better way to the right and create those opportunities. And I will say that try that Toa scored, he did a wonderful job, but he did run onto a really nice ball from Luai. That flat cutout pass that hit him on the chest kind of created that little bit of space for him that he took great advantage of. And the pleasing thing for me with Toa today is that upper body strength. He was fending players off and standing in tackles today. So I thought that was a little bit of a change. So hopefully we can see more than a good game every 2 years.
I thought he made a couple of good defensive decisions as well when we were in our 20 defending our line. But Taruva, Declan, I love this guy. I just think he might not be the best winger in the competition, but I think every team needs an Energizer bunny, and you can just see how infectious that dude is. When he scored those tries, everyone's all over him. He finished them so easily, really, in tough situations, some of them, and also yardage out of the backfield, 170 odd meters for the game.
Yeah, I think when we signed him, we were kind of more focusing on the yardage stuff, but I thought his finishing today was top class. I mean, I think he managed to beat like two cover defenders, one of those tries from the Eels, and like you kind of don't appreciate that he has a really good finisher because he has quite short and stocky, so he's really below the ground center of gravity, so he would be tough to stop. But yeah, some really first rate finishing. And I would like to know what he was saying to those Eels players because yeah,
I
it looked
like
a
the
little bit.
Tiger Claw celebration. I love that.
Yeah, the marketing team must be really happy with him on that one. But yeah, it was great to see. He does seem to have that kind of infectious personality that came across in the documentary. I think Benji Marshall kind of called it out a little bit, and at Penrith as well. Like he was just known as that kind of person that would, bring that energy to the team, which I think is really important on the wing as well. And although he got 3 tries, I thought Drell Skelton was amazing as well and has kind of yardage play as well. Like he probably, I think he got that try down as well. They went up to video referee and gave no try, so he could have gotten a double as well. But yeah, I think both wingers. It makes a huge difference when you've got Skelton and Taruva as opposed to Staines and Nofaluma. So. Yeah.
I think you touched on it, Declan, about Taruva's personality. Like you said, everyone jumps all over him. Like you might have said that, Eddie, after he scored those 3 tries. But it's kind of like the glue to the team too, right? Because as we saw through that documentary or the video they put out of the preseason camp up in Queensland, he's got that infectious personality. He brings the boombox to training. The players love him. He's a real character, like Jerome as well. Like the boys just get around those fellas. Like these are the voices that we need in the team that we probably haven't had as well. I watched a clip during the week too on Adam Dewey being interviewed, and he was being asked about Jerome and about when Jerome talks in the training, on the training field or in a room, that everyone just stops and listens. They've just got that sort of enigma about them. But I can see Taruva being that sort of personality too. Like these are guys that we've missed. And I think that they're only going to really build what we can do on the field, not just off the field, but they're really going to bring everyone together. Good times coming.
Well, they're used to winning. I mean, that's the thing. I sort of don't like the term when people say, "Oh, that player's a winner," but they're confident guys because that's all they've ever done since they come into first grade. Taruva and Luai is win, and maybe they'll become battered and negative like me after a few years of losing. But at the moment, they just think they're going to win, Gary.
There's a stat I saw somewhere today, and I may not get it exactly right, but it was something along the lines of Appy and Luai have played 56 games together, and they've won 51 of them.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
So 57 and 52 now, if I've got those stats right. Like that's a massive sort of record, and hopefully, like I think we'd all be happy with 50% this year.
No, we're all going to be wearing rings. We're all going to be wearing rings in October.
Except for Nick, who's sitting there all dressed up as Jerome Luai at the moment.
You mentioned,
bling bling.
No, Gary, go, because I'm just rambling now, mate.
Declan mentioned Skelton, Gary, but
yeah,
how have we managed to do that? Like, we got to give credit to Richo and Benji here that our biggest problem might be one of our biggest strengths. Taruva and Skelton I get the feeling they're going to be consistently 150 plus meters all this year. And when you look at the stats, someone sort of mentioned this on the forum that, our forward stats might be a little bit down outside of Terrell May, but is that because of these two guys are now going to be doing a lot of the donkey work out of the backfield?
100%. And that's the blueprint Penrith plays off. So what really impressed me about those signings is when we signed Skelton, Richo came out and said, we identified that we're very weak coming out of our own end. So we went and had a look at reserve grade sides and found the guy who's best at that in those reserve grade sides. And now, he hadn't had a big chance playing at the Bulldogs, but he played a couple of first grade games last year, and he was over 150 in all of them, 200 in most of them. And so we identified him, we went out and we got him. And I think you see the difference he's making now. I thought he was fantastic last week. I thought he was fantastic today. What actually surprised me today is there's a couple of times where he showed really good footwork. So for a big guy who can run and be damaging with the ball, he's actually got a good step. He can get in between defenders. And I think from what I've seen so far, he's a pretty good finisher of the ball as well. I would have liked to have seen him get that ball down in a more definite manner on that no try. I think he could have finished that a little bit better. But I don't think there's any real complaints about him at the moment. He does have a little bit of work to do defensively, but we've let in 16 points in 2 games. So um, I think he's been a great addition to the side, and that wing spot I think is his for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think as well with Skelton, like so many situations, we count ourselves really unlucky. But with Skelton, I think if you look back at it, with the whole Addo Carr thing at the Bulldogs, I think if that didn't happen, like he left to get an opportunity to play first grade. Yeah, that's the reason he left the Bulldogs. But now that the Addo Carr's at the Bulldogs either, like they must be kicking themselves because he would be starting ahead of Montoya. So like from that regard, I think we're really lucky to have him. The fact that it kind of happened that we managed to sign, seal, and deliver him before all the Addo Carr stuff, because I think if that had kind of dragged on, Skelton would have been like, oh, hang on, I could probably start at the Bulldogs here. But yeah, I think he's going to be a real key player for us. Just makes a huge difference, doesn't it? Having those like 2 prototype wingers who can make you 150 meters a game.
It's funny, I spoke about over the off season how all the signing stuff, even the stuff we missed, everything kind of fell in place for us. Like missing Horsburgh and Heverington from the Broncos allowed us to get May when the Roosters released him. If Addo Carr had played up before we signed Skelton, Skelton wouldn't be here.
Saying the wheel of luck is turning, Gary, after 25 years, are you?
Only on our signings last off season. I think those sort of things, everything kind of fell our way in that signing period last year. And hopefully it translates to everywhere else, because I think Skelton's going to be a really key part of our year this year. As big a part as Taruva, who I think was the star winger signing, I think Skelton has a lot to give to this team as well.
Gary, would you still take Hetherington?
I would love to have Heverington as well. I would prefer May to Heverington, but I think if we could get Heverington and get him into that lock role, you could then maybe push Bird into that spare second row spot we have, who I thought Seyfarth did some really good things today. But one thing I do notice, and a key indicator for me, is you'll see on those runs of May from the back fence on those kickoffs, Seyfarth takes the next hit up. And not to be negative after a good win, that next hit up, he's getting bent backwards and slowing the next play the ball down. So that, for me, is still a weakness in our squad, is we need we need a punchier second rower.
Do you think Big Red needs to take the runoff from the back fence for the first hit up?
Please no.
I think one of your signings year after was the Big Red from Canberra, Gary. He's on fire. I don't know. I think Ricky Stewart threatening to send him with the Tigers has turned him around, because he looked like a menace last night.
I heard some comments from Ricky Stewart. Ricky Stewart, I think, was on, it might have been Triple M today. I heard bits and pieces of it because my reception was dropping out. But he said he's gone out, he's got really fit, and that's the result. And I think we can talk about, well, soon, hopefully start talking about our fitness levels being improved, because today was a horrible day to be playing rugby league, and I thought the guys did really well fitness-wise. So for me, I'm hoping, like, the keep aside in 37-degree heat, scoreless until the 79th minute is a huge effort fitness-wise. No matter the quality of the opposition, no matter what they were throwing at us, which I don't think was a lot today, to have no mental lapses in that heat during that time, I think is a huge positive, and hopefully that appears to be on the back of a much harder preseason.
Yeah, I think we need a second rower on the right side. Some of us like Seyfarth more than others.
I like him. He tries really hard, and he gets the most out of his ability. He just needs a little bit more ability.
That's a bit of a backhanded compliment. But although some of us like him, it's quite clear that he's not the answer on that right side. Like, we need someone who can have more of an impact. Like, if Starford Toa is more consistent, like coming through the grade, like playing every single game, like to that kind of level, then he could be the right centre going forward, like long term. I don't have an issue with that. So that kind of sorts itself out. Whether that happens or not, that's another thing if he is consistent. And then on the left side, with Olam retiring, I'm happy to have AD there, because I've got a high opinion on Makasini coming through the grades. I think he'll eventually play that left side. So I think that second row on the right edge is the only position where I don't really see anyone who can take it from within the club who is of the quality that we need it to be. So if I was recruiting someone, that's probably my main position at the moment that I'd be trying to sign someone for.
Samuel Afinu. I don't know whether it's just because he's changed his hairdo and he's got the fuzzier hair or he's lost a bit of weight. He just looks a bit different this year and he's a bit quieter. I don't know if that's because he had such a good combination on the left with Galvin. I don't know whether he's just struggling to gel with Jerome at the moment or whether he's a bit off the pace, but I thought both games and even in the trials he's been quiet.
Yeah, I wondered today if you'd been creeping across the field a little bit more. He doesn't seem to be running or running as direct as what he was last year. But you're right, he does look leaner, but maybe that is his hair growing out. I'm not too sure, but I love Samuela. I'm sure he'll get back to playing his best footy, but I agree. He's not the Samuela that burst onto the scene last season, is he?
Mm. I think he's definitely struggling from the lack of cohesiveness in attack because everyone is kind of not 100% sure of the roles at the moment. But towards the end of last year, especially on that left edge, it was him and Galvin playing very, very flat, very kind of simple to know your role. But now you've got like Bula, Jareem as well, Bula, Luai, like all these kind of different people. And I think that Samuel is kind of struggling a little bit to find like where he fits in all this because now Galvin's playing both sides, Luai's playing both sides. It's not that kind of set edge defense where he kind of or attack where he knows who he's playing outside of. So I think hopefully it will take a little bit. It won't take that long, but hopefully he'll kind of adjust and he'll be that productive player that we saw last season as well.
I actually thought about midway through that second half today, he was starting to struggle in the heat a little bit. If I wouldn't have been surprised to see Benji take him off at that point because I thought the heat was getting to him. But pleasingly towards the end of the game, I thought there was a couple of really key involvements and effort involvements. There was a bomb we put up from about 40 metres out that landed about 5 metres out from the goal line, and he chased that through really hard and put pressure on the guy taking the catch. So that was a great effort play. And then I thought he did really well on the last Taruva try when he hit that gap. He went through, and I thought he positioned Taruva really well. So I thought there was some key moments where he was really good today. But I think he's lacking a little bit in attack. I don't think he's getting the right quality ball that most benefits him at the moment. He's a guy that I think does really well being put into a half hole. He can then use that size and that speed to bust through and come out the other side. And I don't think we're doing that a lot with him at the moment. He's, especially last week, got a lot of ball with 2 or 3 defenders in front of him and pretty much and he busted a couple of tackles last week doing it. But I don't think that's the best way to use him. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks he forms a better combination with Luai, because Luai has been great with his second rows playing outside him. I think Luke Garner looked really good playing outside him, and Kikau that combination with Luai was amazing at Penrith. So there's a lot of potential in that combination, but I think they need to do a little bit more work, and it probably should be a bit of a focus on our game planning and on our training moving forward to get those 2 firing, because it's a real danger area for us where we can cause a bit of damage to oppositions.
And to be fair to Samuela as well, I think the game plan was to hit the centres and the wingers more than it was to hit the second rows in that game, because the Eels were just not really, they were given a lot of space. So, it would have been nice to see maybe some success with like either Seyfarth or Samuela hitting a short ball, but they're finding so much success going wide anyway. So it's kind of hard to nitpick on that, but like from that perspective, because we did score a lot of tries like through our outside backs.
Nick, just at the last one on the Galvin Luai combination, did you notice any difference this week in terms of the dynamic of who touched the ball more or who was more in control? I still feel like Luai's, even though he had a great Penrith career, I always felt he was a sort of fits and spurts sort of player where sometimes you think, why is he running around in circles? Then he put in that rubber and ended up a try, and you think he's a genius. But there were still times where I felt like, particularly in that first 25 minutes, where there were a couple of times where we didn't really know what we were doing late in the tackle count.
Yeah, to me, Romy's not a structured halfback, or not yet anyway. He is more off the cuff, like you mentioned with that. He didn't know what to do on the last and then put that grubber through, which led to the try. But I don't know. I thought they looked better. I thought maybe he looked better with Appy there. There's that sort of, they've had that history at Penrith with Appy and Romy there in the halves. And I guess with Buller, the way he plays out the back that we discussed earlier, I think there's a lot better shape instantly with the three of those guys on the field at the same time. It's going to take them a while to find their groove, but I thought Jerome probably, for me, he dictated the play a little bit more than he did last week. I thought he looked a bit more dominant than like he did today.
The biggest difference for me in between the Knights game and the Eels game today is I thought last week they crowded themselves a little bit. At times they got themselves too close together on a short side or and just didn't give each other the room to be better. And especially when they were both playing really flat. Today, Galvin played a little bit deeper, which I thought gave them a little bit more space and a bit more time to operate. And instead of Luai just shuffling it to Galvin, who was a metre behind him, quite often Galvin was sweeping and 3, 4 meters behind him. And I thought that made a little bit more difference and gave them a little bit more space. And I think that will develop over time. I think that's a big improvement for their combination. But especially when last week Gavin was sweeping around to that left side far too often. I thought he stuck out on that right side a little bit more today, and the side benefited from it, from them not being so crowded.
I would love to ask Dean Ritchie if he still thinks that the Tigers should be worried that Luai is going to go to the Eels, because I think
You're falling into my trap, Declan, of watching 360 and getting angry. I'm sort of gonna have to get people to turn it off when that comes on, because that's just, I mean, it's just gutter journalism. It is ridiculous, the fact he played one game for the West Tigers. He's on a 5-year deal with a clause, and he was talking about him going to Parramatta of all places. That's where, and careers have gone to die at the Tigers. But if the next 5 years, Nick, I think careers might be going to die at Parramatta.
Well, why can't you see the attraction there? Like, who wouldn't want to go to Parramatta? A club that's getting absolutely pumped, and for a pay cut. I mean, what a great deal that'd be. I'd go. Not.
Well, Eddie likes to make fearless predictions, and you say careers go to die at Parramatta. What about Riles? How do you think his career is going to go?
It gave me comfort, Gary, seeing Nathan Brown in the box. I don't know why that gave me comfort, but he was telling Riles what to do at one point, and I thought, just keep going, Nathan. Just keep talking. Whatever dribble you're talking about, I was happy to see that. But question without notice, Declan, it's not going to go away. The Galvin contract talk. Would you give him a 10-year deal? Say it's 1.2 million a year, and goes up with the salary cap if that increases, which it invariably does every 2 or 3 years, particularly when the new TV deal comes in a few years. If you had it tomorrow, would you sign it or would you hold? If you were Shane Richardson.
And he accepts this deal.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is annoying because I actually asked you this question, but I didn't actually give a response in the group chat. So I think 1.2
you
million.
know which side of the fence I'm on this.
Yeah, 1.2 million. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But I think the two big concerns for me were, like, what's he going to look like when he's got like a quality spine where he doesn't have as much like free rein to do what he wants. It looks like that's not a problem anymore because he's pretty much just touching the ball the same amount of times that he did last season as well. So that kind of takes that off. Another concern I would have is that he eventually ends up in the back row because he fills out. But I think that he doesn't really have the body type that he's going to fill out where he'd be too big to play in the back row. Kind of like Curtis, like obviously not like Curtis Cernan, but like someone like Curtis Cernan did play in the halves coming through. But then by like year 2 or 3, he was clearly just a second rower. I don't think that's going to happen with Galvin, and yeah, I probably would at the moment. Maybe it's because we're winning. We just won a game, and like everything's all sunshines and rainbows. But I think I probably would at this moment in time if he was to accept the offer. Whether he accepts the offer, I think is probably the next big question, because there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to give him, like, we're going to offer a lot of money in a long-term deal. But it's just whether like he wants to commit or his manager wants to commit him to the Tigers.
Yeah, Brent Reed came out today on Triple M and said that the Tigers are preparing to sit down with Lockie Galvin soon and will offer him a deal that makes him the richest teenager in rugby league, and that it would go past the $1 million. So there's no doubt that the Tigers are preparing a really good offer for him. So I think once you get past that $1 million offer for him, if he then turns around and says no to that, that tells you an awful lot about his intentions, doesn't it, Declan? Like for me, that's you either sign that deal or you're going elsewhere. So it'll be really interesting to kind of see that play out over the next week or two.
And I want to lock up Lockie as well for as long as possible. The only thing that scares me about the money that is being, I guess, suggested or floated around is how that throws out the cap within the squad. Because what's Jareem getting paid, and what's he likely to be on after in another year? Wasn't he going to be up around the high
900?
Yeah, that's a lot of money between three players.
The last year of Jareem's contract is reported to, it's an option, and it's reported to be at 900,000.
I don't know, Nick. I just feel like if you look at the Melbourne Storm, I reckon they'd be spending 4 million on their spine, and it's well worth it. Like if you're going to spend money, I'd rather spend it in the spine than on other pieces.
But don't they give boats and houses and
Probably,
stuff?
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You don't have a boat to give, Nick?
Not at the moment. I can steal one.
Yeah, and even like if it turns out, like I think I'd be all right if Buller got squeezed out if it meant we could keep Galvin. Like although like Buller's a great player and like we hope he's going to be a really good player, but like I don't think I think you just re-sign Galvin at any kind of cost at the moment, and I think it was good as well just to beat Parramatta of all clubs because he's that's the club that he's been linked to most, obviously because he was a Parramatta fan and he did play there for a stint during junior footy, so it was good to beat them. I do obviously think there's going to be more sitters that will come after him that can probably offer a more attractive offer than the Eels, but yeah, just good to kind of get that win from them especially.
What is it with you guys trying to shoot Bambi? Like, Eddie's tried to replace Dream Buller with every single fullback in the competition over the off-season, and now he plays the best game he's played in at least 12 months, maybe close to ever for the club.
Squeezing him out. I wasn't squeezing him out.
Declan's okay for him to be squeezed out. Like, talk about shooting Bambi.
Well, mate, it's called being financially responsible with your salary cap. I'm not sure if you crunch the numbers like we do, but
boys, I want to give the coach a rap, and I don't give him too many raps, but
he deserves one.
I think he deserves a rap, Declan, because of his use of the bench today. I think maybe Appy went to him in the December when he come back from, wherever he was playing for Fiji and said, Benji, I don't want to be in a wheelchair by the time I'm 40. So Benji said, I've got this great idea. We're going to bring you off after 30 minutes and we're going to bring you back on for the last 30 minutes. I thought it worked fantastic.
Yeah, and it was just the absolute perfect time of the game when we had just scored that first try. And then it gave De Silva like a little bit of confidence just to keep going. I thought like Royce Hunt came on at the perfect time as well because we scored that try. His kickoff, his runs off the kickoff got us out of our 20, immediately out of pressure, and we kind of just managed to like follow on. But yeah, I think it's a really good sign that Benji trusts De Silva enough to give him those minutes. And like I thought he looked really comfortable. In fact, I'd probably say like that he looked his most comfortable this game with us. I know he didn't do a lot in terms of the stat sheet. He had that really nice run out of dummy half, and then I think he had another one where he nearly made a break as well. So he looked great. And I think we banged on all last season about Appy just looking really fatigued, playing 80 minutes, and that he just wasn't at that point of his career where he probably could do that and still stay productive. And he looked a little bit underdone this game as well, to be honest. Like he looked a little bit slow from dummy half, so maybe he's still a little bit like needs a bit of match fitness. So I like the idea of him splitting the minutes with De Silva for sure.
Maybe it's because we had power on the back foot a bit more today, but Talon I thought looked very sharp when he came on. And I thought our attack picked up a little bit when he came on too. His service out of dummy half is really good for a young 19-year-old. I know we noticed it last week too, Gary, when they're sitting at Campbelltown, how good his service is and his passing game is brilliant. He can fire it left or right, and hit a mark really, really spot on, really quickly. So I like the dynamic bringing him and Big Royce on at the same time. You got that sharp service out of dummy half. He's quick on his feet, and then Royce destroying the line with his hit ups.
Yeah, I thought Benji Marshall's bench use was pretty much spot on today. Look, if I'm being hypercritical, I probably would have given Taylor May a little bit of a break before the 65th minute in those conditions today. But outside of that, I think those that brought Royce Hunt on at the right time. Jack Bird came on at the same time, and he actually ran a really nice line in that first try as well. So he ran the first line before Seafarth ran the second line. So I thought that was a really good move as well. Good timing on that interchange as well. Uh, yeah, that Talon one was spot on. And and the big thing about Talon's service is he gets the ball out in front of players to get them running onto it, uh, especially your halves. So he gets your halves moving forward before they start to move sideways. And I really like that about his game. And I thought his service last week when he came on was a big improvement on Hope. His defensive issues let him down massively last week. There weren't any signs of that, though. Parramatta didn't really throw a lot at us this week. But his speed out of dummy half and his ability to choose the right rucks to run off is really strong. And I think using him in that last 10 minutes of the half, he's going to be dangerous throughout the year because of that ruck identification that he has. I think he's going to cause some teams some real trouble in that period.
Boys, nearly an hour into the podcast, Declan. Probably my fault. I don't think I've mentioned in too big a spurt who I thought was the best player in the field in Terrell May. Like, this guy is just a machine. And now I had my doubts when I signed him because I just thought, what's going on here? And then I went onto the Roosters forum, which I don't often do. Probably the only time I've ever been on it. And the 25 comments, they were all raging from furious to disappointed that he was gone. So that encouraged me, and I thought, okay, I'll hold here. And like, he played 65 straight in the heat there, and when he came off, he didn't look like he'd broke a sweat. Like, he didn't look fatigued. I think he would have gone the full 80. He's a physical freak, this guy.
Yeah, I think that the thing that can be said about Terrell May is that he just looks that class above, kind of like guys like Payne Haas, kind of guys like James Fisher Harris, of that prop that you can just tell when he's on the field, he's better than like the majority of other props on the field, and he's just class. And then he's just got like, his game is probably more. It's got more dimensions to it than just on the stat sheet, because when he's got the ball, he's got a bit of a pass about him. So like, you've always got, like, obviously the offload is a bit of a concern for teams because he's got a good offloading game, but then he can also play to a bit of shape as well. So I'm really interested to see how they use that going forward with the more like reps he play. But yeah, he's just an absolute cardio machine. Seems to have got a good head on him. I know he got some like bad raps, obviously, with like other things related to family members, and then also like how it ended with the Roosters. But whenever I hear him speak directly, he seems like a really good person and like someone that you could like really get behind. So just seeing him succeed early on is really good to see, and I'm quite a fan of his YouTube channel. Watch it every Tuesday when it comes out, his vlog. So yeah, keen to see the vlog for this week.
Yeah, talking about that versatility to his game, early in that game today, he was turning other forwards inside. So he was actually, a couple of times, Polo ran an inside line off him and he was turning him inside and still managed to rack up 180 metres despite feeding the ball on quite a bit. Definitely he can play that lock type link role with your halves quite well. He has a nice pass on him. A couple of times last year at the Roosters, he threw 20-metre cutout passes to outside backs. So there's a lot of skill in his game. His offloads last week, I think, was when we looked the most dangerous, and there was another 3 offloads today. I couldn't be happier with that signing. I was really happy when we made the signing, but I think he's going to show this season that the Roosters made one of the poorest recruitment decisions I've ever seen them make. I was really surprised when they let him go. I thought there had to be some other issue going on, which there doesn't appear to have been. And my only concern around that signing is I really think last year was that first year that he'd really been that dominant prop who can push out 150 metres every single game. But his start to his career at the West Tigers looks like that's going to continue. And he's doing it easily. Like, there doesn't even seem to bother him going for 180 metres a week, and 43 tackles today, one missed tackle. He did 33 tackles or something last week with 0 misses. So he's a really quality defender as well and holds up that middle. This is the prop we've kind of been waiting for. And it's just remarkable that he just fell into our lap because the Roosters let him go. I think he's going to have a great season. And he's my prediction right now to be the West Tigers Player of the Year, because I think he's going to do this every single week because it's just like an 180-meter game doesn't even look like it's an effort for him. There's going to be games where he goes over 200 meters this year, I easily.
We haven't had a prop like Terrell May since the big Keith Galloway.
Big Red. Is that
The other big
both
red.
of you boys taking a little shot at what's his name? Utica Manu or whatever his name was?
Stefano.
I'll be honest.
I didn't notice he played last week for Melbourne. I know they won by 60, but he only played 40 minutes.
But really, what we were hoping, and I think I've said it before a couple of times on the pod, what we were hoping Stefano was going to be is what Terrell May is showing, and Stefano's still to provide that, and to think we offered Stefano about 200,000 more than what we're paying Terrell May. I think this is a great deal that worked out really well for us. It'd be nice to have both of them in your side because like if you had two guys who had that ability, it'd be fantastic. But I'm really glad that we ended up with Terrell May this year instead of Stefano.
Declan's nodding his head. Any comment on Stefano? Who'd be ahead in the New South Wales Origin race? Not that I give a stuff, Declan. Given Laurie Daly's coaching, it could be anyone picked.
He
But
may pick you in the front row, Eddie.
yeah, exactly. Would Terrell May be second or third prop pick for New South Wales, or is there more in behind Payne Haas ahead of May?
I think that because New South Wales won last season, you'd pick the incumbents. I think
Jake Trbojevic?
Well, I don't know. Like, I was thinking this the other day, and I think Lindsay Smith is kind of everything that like everyone thinks that Jake Trbojevic is. Just that really consistent guy that just tackles everything, can easily make 50 tackles, and then he's a bit of a threat, like on the try line because he's so lanky and awkward. So, and he's played for Australia, and he's got the comps, so he's got the pedigree around him. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, but with Jake, he's just got the leadership. And I think that's something that like these coaches really value in these Origin camps. Whether like he actually plays, I'm not sure. And like honestly, I wouldn't be like screaming if he wasn't picked. But in terms of May, I think he's still got a few people in front of him. But I think at this stage, he'd definitely be in front of Stefano. Like obviously, there's no doubt that Stefano's playing a better team, so he's going to get more quality opportunities to show his talent. But I think just the kind of all the dirty work that Terrell May is doing at the moment and the kind of real like base stat stuff, tackles, yardage, offloads, that really translates better to Origin, those fundamental skills, because like Stefano's probably not going to have an opportunity just to like run over the top of someone and score a try in Origin because the defense is another level. But I think that the stuff that Terrell May is really good at will put him in good stead to like do well in that arena. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Obviously, he's going to have to like play that way for like pretty much the whole season. And if he doesn't get a gig this year, if he stays consistent, like hopefully next year. But yeah, I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't say he's like an Origin bowler at the moment.
The thing is, what he's doing now is going to put him in the conversation. So when that Origin side comes around, I don't think he's a guy that you'd probably be picking for that first game. But if New South Wales have a poor game, especially with go forward, then I think you're going to see Terrell May come right into consideration. And that's how I see him probably getting a shot at Origin this year, is if New South Wales start the series poorly, especially through the middle of the field, his name's going to be right at the top of the list of those next guys in contention. So he's definitely going to be discussed once they start looking at the team. And I think like there's definitely a chance there for him to push into that arena this year.
And what we're speaking, Nick, about one of our former players in Utica Manu, I wanted to give a shout out to another one of our former players. I think he might be a listener of the podcast because, I mean, he talks a lot about the West Tigers on his Instagram. John Bateman. I mean, you are an absolute flog, John Bateman. Like, you are awful. Like, you've gone to the Cowboys. You spent your whole off season on Instagram potting the Tigers, even on Friday afternoon, Gary. Talking a big tribute to David Clemmer, and finally he can start enjoying his football and he's out of the crocodile role. Well, I'm not sure what sort of crocodile it is in North Queensland, but it's a mighty big one, Declan, because they've been pumped by 30 points. And poor old Johnny Pale Legs Bateman, whatever his name is, he is bringing them to the gutter.
Yeah, I haven't managed to really look at the Cowboys in depth this season.
I have.
I know you have, but
I have. That's why I tipped them for the spoon. Because of you, Bateman, because you're there, and you probably won't last half the season there because you'll want out and you'll want back to England.
yeah, it's a tough one. I did see him drop a ball towards the end of the game when they played on, was it Friday or Saturday?
Eddie's seen that 47 times because he's just got it on loop.
I enjoyed that game, Gary.
I'm sure you did. My favourite part of that whole rant is I think you're through to each of us at least once.
I had that ready to go.
So when we lost last week to the Knights, Tigers put up the result on Instagram, and John Bateman likes the West Tigers post that we'd lost. So
Eddie reacted really well to that as well.
Did he like it tonight? I bet you didn't.
I don't think he has, but I just want to check it if you're going to send it to him, please, because I know you've been in touch with John.
I will, because I know he sends it. I know he sees it because he sent out the fishing emoji like I used to, trolling people. But I thought, if you're going to troll people, John, I'm just going to keep falling for it and keep calling you out. So big shout out, Johnny. Hopefully you can join us as our special guest on the podcast next week. Declan, who do we play next week? I forgot.
He didn't like it. I just checked. He didn't like the post. So you're right. But we're playing the Dolphins up there.
Dolphins.
Yeah, so a winnable game.
Yeah, it's Saturday, so 6-day turnaround. That's got to be a concern? I know I don't want to make excuses, Gary, but that's not easy coming off a hot Sunday afternoon.
No, it's definitely preparation's going to have to be spot on this week. 37 degrees today. It was a taxing game. Like you could tell for most of the players that it was a game they had to fight to get through. So not only that, we've got to fly to Brisbane, and we're playing on Friday. So it's
Saturday.
Saturday, sorry.
Yeah,
it is Saturday afternoon, 5:30. So probably the worst case scenario for us heading into next week. Hopefully that extra day I forgot about will help us recover that a little bit better.
I mean, Dolphins haven't looked great this season. The Knights did them in, and we obviously didn't play great against the Knights, but obviously at home up there it's tough. But I would be reasonably confident that we could go 2 from 2 or 2 from 3. So we'll have to see.
Long range forecast too, 29 degrees on Saturday up in Brisbane. So another warm one.
Speaking of
probably not as hot as today.
Thanks for the weather update, Nick.
Speaking of the long range forecasts, I'm looking at the market for the game because I know you guys, salivate at the betting markets coming out, but it's actually suspended. So whether that's whether there's a couple of potential suspensions or whether that's around Buller, but if I was guessing, I reckon it may start 50-50, the odds for this game. I reckon it'd be about $1.90 each team because Dolphins obviously advantage being at home, but 0 from 2 certainly haven't looked the same. Last one, boys. Say, I'll just throw a little curveball at you, Declan. Say Buller was to miss some games, and hope he doesn't, but would you consider Charlie Staines or Taruva at the back over Mason?
No, I would sit with Mason. I think that Taruva, maybe I would consider it, but I think he's just so good on the wing. He's a good finisher. He starts to set stuff well. I'm just not sure how creative he'd be as well, chiming in the back line. Whereas I know Keith Mason, he is that creative player. Obviously, he's not as safe under the high ball and those kind of 1%ers that you need to be good at fullback, but he does have that attacking threat. And as you said before, the Eels game, a lot more go forward, a lot more chance for someone like that to play well as a fullback. So hopefully that gets emulated against the Dolphins if Buller wasn't fit and he basically can show what he can do. But I wouldn't be playing Staines or Taruva. No, I'd keep Staines in reserve grade, and then I would keep Taruva on the wing, to be honest.
Interesting though, I think Mason was picked at least. I didn't see the game, but picked in the halves for reserve grade over the weekend.
Staines played at fullback.
Yeah, I think he did.
I didn't see the game, but he was named fullback.
Yeah, I didn't see the game either. So for me, that's an interesting sort of decision. So maybe he has fallen down in the pecking order. I do worry about him a lot under the high ball. I think every single game he's played, there's been an issue under the high ball. He doesn't look confident at all. At times, he doesn't even go for them. He lets them bounce. So that's an area of his game. If he is going to play in that fullback role, he needs to improve greatly, because if we have a 5-6 week run where we have to rely on him in that role, we need him better under the high ball.
Alrighty, boys. Well, it's been a good Sunday night. No real arguments, no tantrums, no blow-ups. Yeah. And also, Gary, the B team is on Wednesday. Steve and Joel.
Look, I do have to ask: is this a permanent move? You've been hosting a number of Sundays now. I think you're on last Sunday as well. So you hosted the week before on a Sunday. You're on last Sunday. Are you now
like who used to you blokes are a bit older than me, or not Declan? Who used to host 60 Minutes? I feel like the 60 Minutes host, the more serious man, you know. Used to be a bit of a
serious
joke.
man? Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, Wednesday night you can be a bit more off kilter, but Sunday.
So it's like 60 Minutes and the panel.
Yeah. I'm not a big watcher of 60 Minutes, but I might go and watch it after this. All right, boys, thank you for tonight, and we'll see you on the midweek pod, Samir.
Thanks, boys. See you, Johnny
Thanks.
Bateman. Hope you well.
Boys.